This video is narrated by AI. On this trip we were blessed to meet Richard and Liz Brzezek. That friendship continues today. Richard is an expert photographer and very creative guy. A few weeks after our return, we received a package from them. It was a beautiful hardbound photo book of Cuba. Up front it has a wonderfully written story of their personal, Cuban experience. The narration you are about to hear is that personal account. It is used with permission. Cuba can best be described as elegance in decay. The architecture of pre-Castro Cuba is some of the finest that we have ever seen. There is definitely a romanticism that permeates the architecture. I start with the architecture because that is the first thing that you notice when you arrive in Cuba. However, whatever glory that architecture presented, it is in ghost form now, as there has been significant deterioration, neglect and decay. Virtually every structure is in significant need of repair, let alone restoration. Virtually every building has large patches of black mold adorning its walls. Because of the extensive deterioration, Havana is virtually one large slum. Cuba is poor. It reflects abject poverty. We were told the doctors earn the equivalent of $29 per month. Poverty is all around. Poverty becomes even more intense the further you travel from the center of the city. We found, like everyone does, the 1950s automobiles fascinating. There are other motor vehicles in use in Cuba of more recent vintage, but not from the United States, since all commerce between Cuba and United States was terminated a long time ago. The American-made automobiles are basically family heirlooms. Most are currently used as taxicabs since Cuba enjoys a tourist population of about 3 million people per year. We saw many tourists from Europe and South America and a few from Asia. The American automobiles are driven by young men, who would tell us that their particular car was purchased by their grandfather either in the year that it was made, or a year or two later. They have automobile clubs, and, in some cases, they manufacture their own replacement parts. Some of the cars have engines from foreign-made vehicles. The 1950 cars are not environmentally compliant, so the gas stations in Cuba provide leaded gasoline in order for them to operate. Considering the exhaust of these automobiles, the amount of cigarette smoking by Cubans and visitors from countries other than the United States, and other forms of air pollution, the air in Cuba is not very clean. Not only is the air not very clean, neither is the water. The water is either contaminated or it is overchlorinated. In either case, it is not fit for human consumption. Tourists are told to drink only bottled water, to brush their teeth with bottled water, and ice cubes are made from bottled water for mixed drinks. 3 women in our group of 38 ended up in the hospital with digestive tract problems because of the water and/or food. In another group, virtually the whole group became sick. On our first day in Havana, we ate at a very good restaurant having a delicious lunch meal. It was downhill from there. On the way home at the Havana airport, we were told never to eat the fish in Cuba because after it is caught it is never refrigerated. Other meats such as chicken, beef, pork, goat and lamb were generally salted very strongly. We were served complimentary piña coladas, frozen daiquiris and mojitos. If you order Coca-Cola, you were served Cuban-made Coca-Cola, not the one from the United States. There are 2 forms of currency in Cuba, pesos and Cuban convertible pesos, commonly referred to as cucs. The pesos are for the natives, and the convertibles are for the tourists. The exchange rate is $1 will get you 87 cucs. Based on the few items that we purchased, the retail cost of goods is about that of the United States. The revolution took place in 1958. Most of the population was born under communism. People who are 58 years of age do not know any other form of life. While we can be saddened, appalled, or disgusted with some of the things we saw. The people there are friendly, polite, and charming. They seem to be interested in helping each other because all are poor except the communists in charge of the government and their lackeys. There is little graffiti on the walls, and we are not sure if there is any space for graffiti considering the general condition of the buildings. What you do see are posters, pictures, and paintings of Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, and all the communist revolutionaries who overthrew the Batista government in 1958. Any references to Cuban history begins with 1958. Our hotel was in the Miramar section of Havana. There are other hotels of modern vintage in the area as well as embassies, residences for the diplomats and other facilities to cater to the diplomats and the tourists. We did not arrive in Miramar until late in the afternoon of the first day, and our Cuban tour guide told us that this is the high-end section of Havana. All of us Americans were happy. We were told that because we noticed no difference between Miramar and the other areas of Havana we previously toured. Our room was very nice and comfortable. We had no problem with the hot water supply or plumbing, but that was not the case of some of our fellow travelers. The extensive buffet breakfast that was provided by our hotel demonstrated to us, but they are not capable of handling these large groups of people because all of the food and the steam tables was cold. The José Martí Internacional Aeropuerto is the first facility to which a traveler is exposed, and it is without a doubt a third-world airport. The public restrooms are smoke-filled equivalents of indoor outhouses. The airport personnel do not expedite the retrieval of luggage. It took 1.5 hours from the time we completed the customs, immigration, and entry security checks before the luggage made it onto the carousel. We unfortunately had a problem with the aircraft that was going to take us back to Miami at 10 o'clock Friday morning. Our group arrived at this third world airport at 7:30 a.m. and because of the mechanical problem, we did not depart until 6 p.m. It was not the most pleasant experience, but our group made the best of it because the social interaction of all of the travelers in our group was very collegial and convivial. No one in our group was disappointed to disembark on U.S. soil at the Miami International Airport. Americans can only travel to Cuba as part of a religious missionary program, a medical missionary program, or an educational tour. We traveled as the educational tour. The trip was fascinating and to a great extent surreal. The ghosts of Cuba past were all around us and, in a sense, came to life on the last night when we attended a typically traditional Cuban supper club program in one of the few luxury hotels used by tourists. The talent was superb. Despite the few positives that we can discuss, our educational tour confirmed for us that communism is a total failure. God bless America.